K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
That's not far.
What are we gonna do? Hike?
Sure.
Are we there yet?
Yep, it's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org, brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calling for patchy fog tonight after 10 p.m. Otherwise, mostly clear skies with a low of 37. Those areas of fog will continue into the early morning hours tomorrow, but it'll clear up as the day goes on. Sunshine with a high of 60. 43 then the low tomorrow night with mostly cloudy skies, partly sunny skies then Thursday with a high of 55. 57 right now, the temperature outside here in Manhattan. We have the game coming your way next here on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is the game on News Radio KMAN.
Decision 2024. This day has been months in the making as the nation awaits. And of course, what we await is the first college football playoff poll that's going to be announced later on tonight.
Yeah.
Where will K-State be? We expect Oregon to be number 1. But if you're voting, who would you put number 2? But is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, the top few spots of the poll? Is that exactly what we're interested in? Or are we more interested in who's number 8? Who's number 6? Who's number 11? 12? Who's on that bubble for the first college football playoff poll of 2024, which I believe that special starts at 6 o'clock.
Is this the point where I can make the comment about the elites controlling the message now?
The elites is in the SEC and the Big Ten?
Something along those lines, yeah.
Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and AJ Shaw will take you to 6 o'clock. Hour number 2 features Mitch Palm. It's back with a regular season game with New Orleans in town. The Privateers of New Orleans will be in town for a 7 o'clock kickoff, and as that ball goes up in the air in Bramlage, the doors are closing to the polling places around the country, or at least in the Central Time Zone, right?
Yes. In the Eastern Time Zone, and we're starting to see some of the exit polls coming in now already. So, yeah. Welcome to the craziness.
Well, if we're talking about that decision 2024, yes. I think we could certainly expect a decision to not officially be in for a few days, right?
Yeah, at least 24 hours, I've got a feeling. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards it being the weekend.
Bringing that up because, of course, here on K-Man tonight, I'll let you kind of give the details on that with the election coverage here on K-Man.
We will begin coverage with a couple of updates during the course of the ball game. We will have more in-depth updates coming during postgame, and then go wall-to-wall as soon as K-State in New Orleans is off the air tonight.
And will there be any break-ins about the college football playoff?
No, there will not.
Okay.
You're on your own there.
Well, that's fine.
Go commandeer a microphone from Wyatt, and you can tell us all about it.
Well, I'm interested is there going to be a late arriving crowd because of people,
voting?
Trying to get that last minute vote in.
Be a good question.
Because it's 7 o'clock, right? That's when
7 o'clock is when polls close here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 7 o'clock tip-off in Bramlage. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it might be a little bit of a late-arriving crowd. Hopefully it's a crowd that's a lot better than the exhibition last week against Fort Hays State. I mean, the ticket sales on the website was definitely deceiving a little bit. I don't know if people just, it's an exhibition. We'll wait till the season opener, which is tonight in Bramlage Coliseum. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Want to make a few predictions on the season coming up at 4:25 this hour as well. It's Tuesday, so we'll have a Jabroni of the week coming up at roughly 4:45. Here on the game. Make sure to watch us on YouTube. You can watch us live. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And we got the cameras on here in the studio. AJ, can you get a close-up on my sticker? I did vote today. Can we get that close-up?
I have it on Mitch Solo, so hopefully people can see it now.
Well, that's like a little bit of a.
That's the only way to do the close up.
Yeah, I got my own camera button. How about that?
yeah.
We had to pay a few extra dollars for that. It's kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was especially that extra, making sure it said Mitch Solo.
But you can also get a hold of us by calling or texting 785-537-1350. I'm looking at the text line right now. If you have any questions or comments about the show and about the game tonight between K-State and New Orleans, but that full breakdown is coming up at 5:10. More on the college football playoff ranking, and I think it is now for the foreseeable future that, kind of who cares who's number one? we know it's going to be Oregon.
It's a great point at this. Well, yeah, it's going to be Oregon, and the question then becomes who's two and on down the line. But honestly, do we really need that right now anyway? With the amount of football that is remaining in the season, are you going to pay that much attention?
Well, I think you have a much more interesting bubble now, I guess. It's not so much top-end teams, of course. You're looking at more, depending on how many one-loss teams you have, two losses, how many in the, SEC and the Big Ten are in the, around that bubble. The Big 12, forget about it. Not going to get two teams in. That is not going to happen. It would have to be BYU and Iowa State, and I don't see that happening.
The hit Iowa State took in the AP poll just adds to that frustration there.
But K-State, I don't know where K-State's going to land in the playoff, but they're not going to get in unless they win the Big 12 championship, so don't even worry about an at-large. I think the Big 12 is a one-bid league this year. I think a lot of people were predicting that. I was pretty optimistic that you would hope two could get in there. It's clear a loss is much more damaging in the Big 12 and, probably the ACC as it is in the SEC and in the Big Ten, and that's not a secret or anything. But I'm very curious where this committee, it's going to be 13 folks in a room in Dallas. Where are they going to put teams like BYU, Indiana, Miami, that, they're all undefeated teams. They haven't, strength of schedule isn't, skyrocketed up there. It's not like they've played the most. I would say BYU has played the toughest schedule than all of them. But Indiana has looked pretty flashy, and Miami has probably the most explosive offense in America.
You do bring up a good point, though.
Because none of those teams are top three.
In the
AP.
Right. You bring up a good point, though, about the fact that this committee is essentially a separate thing from what the polls are. That what they're going to do here is put together a bracket that is separate from what we've gotten ourselves conditioned to pay attention to in the AP and the coaches poll. I don't know that it is that far of a stretch to say that the Big 12 still could get two teams in, because it's not reliant on the poll.
Right.
It's reliant on eyeballs. It's reliant on what the committee sees as they deal with strength of schedule, what they see on the field, what they've seen in terms of quality week in, week out. I think that does at least make it a little more of a wild card than if we were relying on it being the old BCS days where it was based on the polling rather than being based on a committee putting it together.
But it's hard to argue, like, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Would you rank them higher than a Texas that's playing in the SEC? Their one loss is at home to Georgia. And Texas is ranked 5th and Indiana is at 8.
Me being the cruel anyway, I would, yeah, but that's just me being cruel towards Texas.
Yeah, obviously, the way we look at the polls, it's not what it used to be, right? I mean, 10 years ago, are you really going to see an undefeated BYU team who's played 8 games at number 9 in the nation? It's pretty crazy. Indiana's number 8. I mean, you have...
It used to be that way in the 80s. It was beautiful. We worked it out that way. We just didn't have playoffs.
I mean, you have 4 undefeated teams in the top 10 of the AP, and only 1 is in the top 3.
Yeah.
It's just a lot less value for the ACC and the Big 12 anymore. Notre Dame has played a pretty tough, I would say a pretty interesting, a bit of a tough schedule, and they've only had the one blemish, and they're at number 10. I mean, Alabama is going to be the highest-ranked 2-loss team, and there's a chance they're going to be in the top 10 tonight.
And yet, one of the most classic ratings, computer ratings, is the Sagarin, and it still has the Big 12 ahead of the Big 10 in terms of quality of football this year.
You want to get me on a rant here. I think the Big 10 is super overrated. It's a weak league that I'm trying to run through the schedules here. Like, I don't think Oregon this season is just – they played Boise State, and I think that's a big help because of what Boise State has turned into. You have the Heisman Trophy front runner right now.
True.
That was everybody else has played a super weak non-conference schedule. Indiana really, honestly, truly, their only tough game that's going to end up on their schedule this year is going to be at Ohio State, and I think a lot of people are just assuming Ohio State take care of business. It's going to be a home game in the Horseshoe, and Indiana will forget about them once they pick up that loss, and we'll just have ourselves a rematch of what was a classic earlier this year in Oregon and Ohio State, and instead it's going to be at a neutral site in Indianapolis. And I think that's where the Big Ten championship game is still.
Neutral site.
Yeah, it's
air quotes around neutral.
They're hoping for that rematch.
Really, who from Oregon is going to go to that game?
They'll travel.
I don't think
travel.
so. I don't think so, given that they'll have playoffs right after it.
I promise. They'll travel.
Okay.
They're number 1 team in the nation. They're undefeated.
And they know that they've got playoffs coming up behind it.
A lot of media across the nation are picking them to win the national championship, and that's been the case beginning of the year. They've been close a couple of times and haven't gotten there. Like, this is supposed to be Oregon's year.
But that's why I say they won't go to the conference game, that they'll pick the playoff games.
No, they'll be there.
Okay.
They'll be there.
Okay.
They'll fly, but they'll be there. I totally forgot what I was going to say next.
That they'll have the rematch in the conference game.
Yeah, they'll have that.
Indiana.
They'll have that rematch. That's what everybody, I guess, is expecting. Although I'm, sorry, Will Howard, but I'm kind of rooting for Indiana at this point because it's a fun story. They're 9-0 for the first time ever. But people forget, like, BYU played SMU in week 2, won in Dallas, and SMU right now is the 13th ranked team in the nation. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of weirdly siding with BYU on this one, but they've played a tougher schedule than a lot of people want to give them credit for. Beat K-State, throttled K-State at home.
How important does that make their game with Utah this week? Utah was the darling of the newcomers into the league this year. And while they have been far beneath that, how important does that make this BYU matchup? Or more importantly, how important does this make this game for BYU to not just come out and win it, but to win it big?
There you said it. They win it big. Make a statement.
Win it big.
Because I fully expect BYU's ranking to be underwhelming. I think Indiana might get a little bit more respect because more people are just talking about them. They have a crazy coach. Curtis Rourke is an underrated quarterback. They played a game without him and still won a game at home against Washington. I don't think Washington's that good, but they still won that game. Indiana, I think BYU is going to be undervalued in this first poll. So, and I don't even know what they have coming up. They play the last game was against Oklahoma State. That was a couple of weeks ago, or UCF rather.
UCF,
and they throttled UCF, but Utah, KU, Arizona State, and Houston. It's not that. That's why I'm saying the Big 12 is only going to get one team in. Right there at the top. BYU doesn't have a whole lot that's going to make a bigger case for them to be a top 5 undefeated team in the college football playoff poll.
Yeah. The schedule wound up being front-loaded for them.
Yeah, K-State, SMU, those 2 of your first 4 games, and then Baylor's getting better, but the committee's not going to look at Baylor and that's a better team now. Let's strengthen that schedule a little bit more. It's a lot better than we thought it would be. UCF has fallen off. Oklahoma State is terrible. This should have been a better schedule for BYU, and it's letting the Cougars down a little bit.
By the way, did you touch on Mike Gundy's comments yesterday?
No, I didn't. It's because I didn't even hear them until today. I don't have the audio. I think a lot of people probably actually agree with what Mike Gundy had to say. You want to give the synopsis because I don't have the audio, but basically was shaming people that was shaming Oklahoma State.
That would be it, yeah. He was taking digs at fans.
Like, basically, it's the people that get online, they just want to, spew hate and want to be ugly, and then really their life is just ugly and they've never succeeded at anything, and,
He's not totally wrong.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that do fall in that category. I think
we've all seen what Facebook has become.
I mean, I think he's showing some of his shame by he's doing his press conferences now over Zoom, and he's not even.
Yeah.
It's just a picture of it. He's not even turning on a camera to do these press conferences. It's just his picture.
Is he just there to draw a check now? Is that the point we're at with Mike Gundy?
Man, my big hot take before the season, my bold prediction was this is going to be Mike Gundy's last season.
Okay.
At Oklahoma State, but it wasn't because of them starting 0-6 in Big 12 play. I thought he was going to get a DUI, and then he goes out in disgrace. The sheriff's department there in Stillwater.
Hey, odds are that still may happen.
They got some information during Big 12 Media Day. Apparently, if the guy drinks and drives, their streets aren't safe.
Yeah, well, odds are that could still happen. Oh, man.
Yeah. Boy, Colorado, well, even a 2-loss Colorado team, and BYU would have to lose the Big 12 championship game as an undefeated team, and still, we're going to get a lot of information tonight. This is probably the hardest poll for the committee until the final poll.
Right.
I would imagine, and where the tough part gets is obviously who's the last couple of teams in, who gets left out. I mean, a lot of projections are Indiana. It's because they think they're going to lose to Ohio State. But like a one-loss Indiana team, are they going to be left out? So again, I think there's less value for these undefeated teams for this season. I can't speak for if that's going to be the continued narrative and if that's just going to be a continuing trend. If you are Big 12 and you're undefeated and you've played a couple of, by rankings and by strength of schedule, BYU has played tougher, a tougher schedule than like a Miami. And Miami's 9-0, but BYU has played a tougher schedule than Miami, and Miami is probably, I think, no doubt, is going to be ranked higher than BYU. I'm sure the committee is going to look at Miami and look at them as a better team than BYU based off of what they do offensively.
The worst problem that this committee is going to have going into this is being able to assuage the feeling that they're making selections based on media. And that's where I think Colorado would be something that you have to watch. Just, again, if you see Colorado sneaking in at 16, 17, there's that possibility. The Miami one is going to be that as well, where you start to look at it and go, okay, so how much is media attention, eyeballs gaining their view?
So
many questions.
I guess it depends on the particular person on the committee.
Start the conspiracy theories.
There's like five or six things they base off their rankings, and of course the eye test.
I'm being somewhat facetious in saying, bring on the conspiracy theories, but there's nothing like conspiracy theories in college athletics.
I still stand by. I do not see a scenario where the Big 12 gets two teams in at this point. This past weekend was pretty rough for the Big 12, and right now you're, the teams in control. Iowa State. No, they would have to win the Big 12 championship game, and BYU would have to pray for an at-large. No, one team in the Big 12 I think is it. Unfortunately, it's just
a mistake.
Yeah. Well.
Seriously.
I don't know,
honestly, because again, go back to what we said about the Big Ten. Other than Ohio State and Oregon right now, who gets your attention? Indiana. That's it.
Well, Penn State.
Oh, Penn State can't win a game against a ranked opponent, for crying out loud.
But Penn State is just – they lost this one game. They have –
I know.
They're going to easily
Overrated
get in by just
again.
that one
I know.
loss.
I
They're
get
going
it.
to easily get in because they don't have a tough schedule the rest of the way. They're not going to have to play in a Big Ten championship game. They're going to get in that large. They're going to probably be an 8 seed or something like
and
that.
They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. James Franklin can't win a big game, period.
That's true.
They're overrated
That's
every
true.
year, and it's pathetic.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, K-State men's basketball season predictions. We'll discuss a few things, including, of course, overall record. How about that shooting percentage from 3 from Brennan Haas, and where's that going to wrap up this season? We'll discuss more next on The Game.
Miss any of the show?
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Never fear, sports fan. Check out the Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and newsradiokman.com.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion, our team simplifies complex projects. We build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Discover a world where art meets light using cutting-edge exhibitions that explore visual art, the creative process, and digital technology. The Museum of Art and Light has arrived in Manhattan and is the place where people from all walks of life will be totally engaged in an electrifying, breathtaking experience. The Museum of Art and Light is the first contemporary art museum to blend immersive, digital, and physical art all under one roof. Bring your friends and family to experience the beauty of the art like never before. For more information, you can find them online at artlightmuseum.org.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
All the way to the goal in the throwdown.
Man.
He's open for three. Yes! Yes!
A Wildcat.
3 seconds to go. Scoop shot. Yes! And the buzzer.
Be a part of the Wildcat voyage right here.
Now goes back in. There's the lob and the throwdown.
On your home for Kansas State Wildcat basketball. The Cats play here. 1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. The K-State men's basketball team takes its turn at opening the season tonight as they host New Orleans. Jerome Tang's team finished 14-3 at home a season ago. Missed the NCAA tournament. They ultimately lost in the opening round of the NIT to Iowa. Tip-off tonight is just after 7 with coverage at 6 here on News Radio KMAN and our sister station, 101.5 K-Rock. The Kansas City Chiefs needed overtime to set a new franchise record with their 14th consecutive win, downing Tampa Bay 30-24. Patrick Mahomes capped a big day with 291 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on a bad ankle by going 5 for 5 on the only drive of overtime. Kareem Hunt then finished it off along with his 106-yard rushing performance by plunging into the end zone from 2 yards out. DeAndre Hopkins also had a big night, 8 catches for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of trust in him, and you've seen DeAndre make those catches over his career. You get 2 great players thrown to each other, sometimes great things happen, and so it's not the way we drew it up, but it was a good finish to it.
KC has a quick turnaround as they'll host the Broncos Sunday at noon. We'll have that for you here on News Radio KMAN. The game continues next.
We continue with the game. Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and AJ Shaw are with you until 6 o'clock. And that's when we start pregame coverage of K-State hosting New Orleans for the season opener, Bramlage Coliseum. It'll be the second meeting all time between these two programs. Cats are going to go 1-0, of course, to start the season. And we'll have Mitch Palm coming up at 5:10. Later on in this hour, we'll have Jabroni of the Week. I just wanted to throw out a couple of questions to get your guys' thoughts on the season ahead. 32 games this year. It's now a 20-game conference slate, so the toughest conference in America. Just got maybe, I would say, a little bit tougher this season.
Tougher. Oh, anyway, sorry.
Were you quoting somebody there?
Yeah, I'm just,
Is that your tough guy voice?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it could be that big voice guy sales pitch. Just got tougher. I don't do it well, I know.
All right. AJ, you want to give it a shot?
No.
Okay. All right, so throw a few predictions out there. Let's just start with a simple one. Who's going to be K-State's leading scorer this season? And AJ, if you want to lead us off, who will be K-State's leading scorer this season? I'm talking points per game for the regular season, the 32 contests.
Would I be wrong to pick Coleman Hawkins? I don't think I would be.
Well, it's up to you. It's your prediction.
Then I'm going to go with that.
Coleman Hawkins.
Yes.
All right. Troy, what do you think? Who will be K-State's leading scorer this season?
I'm skeptical on Coleman Hawkins because we've talked about that he's not exactly a guy who's going to go off the way that we saw Keontae Johnson go off on the offensive end of the floor. He's a much more balanced player than that. I think it's a really good question, but left trying to get a feel because there's so much balance that is potential from this lineup. I mean, yeah, I could see it being Hawkins, and yet I really don't. Is there a way to say pass?
Well, my answer is Max Jones.
Okay.
And it sounds like he's going to be in the lineup tonight. 15 points a game last year. Being that shooting guard, he can be a volume shooter for you. I think last year at Fullerton, he averaged about 11 shots per game. He would take about 5 of those from three-point range. And overall, as a shooter last year, he was roughly about 39%, but in his career, about 42%. It was better shooting numbers his first year at Fullerton. Last year, he averaged 15 points a game, but the three-point numbers have been very consistent at around 39% in his career. So we're going to get hopefully his debut tonight, and we're going to see how much he shoots, the ball rotation, shot selection, how wide open it is, and how much he's knocking down those shots. For somebody who averaged 15 points a game last year, this is supposed to be K-State's X factor. Just so happens he has an X in his name. And if he is that X factor, I think he can be. The thing about Coleman Hawkins, he averaged 12 points a game last year. He had his big games, but you're right. He can distribute. I mean, he had 6 assists. 6 assists, 1 turnover, a hell of assist-to-turnover ratio in the exhibition against Fort Hays State. He's not always looking to score. He's very happy to play unselfish basketball. Now, I'm not saying Max Jones is selfish, but I think he could be a really good shooter.
I'm going to go with a wild card here and go with Brendan Hausen.
Ooh. Well, I tell you what. If he's going to shoot a ton of threes, I hope he is making at least 5 a game.
Right. Yeah. And so that's where I'm going to – I've seen it happen before. Let's see what plays.
All right, so let's go to our next question then. Brendan Hausen, what's going to be his three-point shooting percentage this season? Give you a couple of numbers here. At Villanova, through his 2 years at Villanova, 39.5%. Last year, 42.9%. I should say 2 years ago, making 42.9%. Last year, 38.1%, where he was shooting a lot more. He went from shooting 2 a game his freshman year to 5 a game last year. So the numbers did drop a little bit, but still a solid shooting percentage. So where do you think Brendan Hausen falls in three-point shooting percentage this season?
I'm going to say anywhere between 35 and 37%.
You think he's going to take a big drop?
If he's shooting the ball as many times as he did during the exhibition game, I think that's about where he's going to be at. That's probably not going to be the case though, but I'm going to put it at about that. I say 35 to 37%.
I'm of the mind that it is 38%. I think
so right on with last year.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep a consistent clip going.
I think you're going to see him have big games and sometimes, maybe a low-scoring game. Maybe it makes one. Maybe he makes none. He can be kind of streaky like that, but he can be a really good shooter. And I just hope he wasn't given the kiss of death that Tyler Perry was kind of given last year, being the best shooter in America. Instead of the words were used a little bit differently for Brendan. Not he will be, or it's he could be, he might be the best shooter in America. So Brendan Hausen, I'm definitely more optimistic. I think he's going to nail a lot of shots this year for KC. He's going to hit at a high clip. And the goal is to have, of course, over 40%. I'm going to go 40.5. So I'm going to kind of meet in the middle of these past 2 seasons. If he, I think the better question is how many threes does he take per game? Because he shoot 14 against Fort Hays State? That's not going to
That's
if they're open, if they're open, he has the green light all day. He can be that deadly. He's the hitman. He's the assassin from Amarillo, Texas. I think he'll definitely be over 38%, around 40%. I think it would make a lot of people happy, and I think that is super realistic for Brendan Hausen. So then, what do you think about K-State as a whole shooting the 3 ball this season? Of course, you hope it's better than, what was it against, Fort Hays State. It wasn't great. They finished 28.5%. Last year, K-State shot 31.8% from 3. That was the worst in the Big 12. But this group last year, with Doug McDaniel, C.J. Jones, Max Jones, Hausen, Achor, Hawkins, at their respective places as a group last year, shot 38% as a team. Where do you think, AJ, this team will land at the end of the year shooting the 3 ball percentage-wise?
So they're not going to shoot 31% again as a team. That's a given. There's too many shooters on this ball club to shoot that poorly. They're not going to shoot 31%. I'm going to say around 37% maybe as a team. So
that'd be a really good number.
I think that's a pretty good number for the team.
I'm a little more leery of that. I'm going to go 34%.
I would be very happy, and that's kind of where I'm going to go with my prediction, but I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm 34.5-ish 8%. That'd be a pretty good number. I think that would land you top half of the Big 12. You wouldn't be at the top of the leaderboard. You wouldn't be considered one of the deadliest teams in the Big 12 at shooting the three, but that'd be a pretty decent clip. Would that be a disappointing number? I'm actually kind of being reserved with that number, I think, because this could be a lot better shooting than that, 34.5%. Brendan Haasen with, look at my numbers here, Max Jones, Brendan Haasen, and also Achor. I mean, they all shot over 38% last year. And Achor, I think, is going to be a pretty underrated shooter, but I'm very curious to know how often he does shoot the three. 34.5%, that lands you middle of the pack probably in the Big 12. Maybe too much of the exhibition is sitting in my head on that prediction, but I think it's fair for right now.
Something that Coach brought up in his press conference yesterday in talking about the exhibition, and I think it's a great point. He mentioned that he really felt that guys were tight. And if you think about it, the changeover on the roster, first opportunity to be in front of fans the way that they were, doesn't really surprise me much that maybe they were a bit on the tight side, wanting to put on a show. And yes, they got the win. It wasn't the prettiest. But, hey, they got that under their belt, and regular season starts tonight.
So overall and conference record.
Oh, boy.
32 games, 20 conference games. Where does K-State finish this season with an overall record and conference record? You want to go ahead?
Yeah, AJ's looking at the schedule, I think.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards a 13-7 Big 12 record.
Damn.
Being able to hold serve at home and be able to go on the road and pick off three specifically.
Please go ahead of me because I'm still trying to think.
Okay, so I had said, months ago when K-State's schedule came out, the home and away with Arizona State, Cincinnati, Iowa State, KU, and Oklahoma State, you have a little bit of everything. Iowa State, KU at the top of the board. Cincinnati scored over 100 points in their first game. They looked pretty good. So, they're kind of still, do you still kind of keep a middle of the pack or top half but not top five quite yet? Arizona State, Oklahoma State, I don't think they're expected to be great. And that's home and away. I mean, home you have Arizona, Colorado, Houston, Texas Tech, West Virginia. Love that. And then going on the road, Baylor last night had a really rough night.
Yes, they did.
BYU, UCF, they just upset Texas A&M last night. TCU and Utah.
Johnny Dawkins, by the way, you've got to give him all kinds of credit for what he did last year because we really thought they were going to be the basement of the conference. And I think that there's some momentum there in terms of improving this year in UCF.
So right now for a conference record, again, there's a lot for this team to prove, so I can't get too crazy. I get too crazy with these predictions. I'm going to go 11-9.
Okay.
For right now. That gets you in the NCAA tournament.
That gets you in the NCAA tournament. And I think from an overall standpoint, I could see K-State going 20-10 overall. 13-7 conference.
All right.
Well, in the non-con, the only game that really worries me is St. John's.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I figure that out real quick and give you, So I'm going to go. Maybe I'm giving you an overall record, but I'm going to give you a conference record of 11-9 right now. So 11-9. I got 22 wins.
Okay.
22 wins this year for K-State in the regular season.
I'm going to go 11-9 as well. After looking over the schedule a couple of times, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do on the road. I don't think there's many wins there just because of how tough road environment is in the Big 12 for teams. Maybe they go 12-8 if they can pick off a win on the 8th of February against KU. Possible. But I'm going to go with 11-9 as well.
All right, let's wrap it up. When we come back, we have Jabroni of the Week. Who takes the crown this week? It's not the predictable one, if you watched a particular basketball game last night. Jabroni of the Week coming up next.
Your home for K-State sports.
Deflected on Jabroni, intercepted. It's gone from bad to worse for West Virginia. First interception of the year for Geno Smith.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
After facing a multitude of challenges since 2020, Flint Hills Area Transportation Agency has decided to evaluate the current system and seek out the current needs and wants of the local communities to guide a path forward. Your input is vital. Flint Hills Addabus needs your help. Get involved and share your input to help guide Addabus so they can provide more convenient and efficient connections to jobs, services, and educational opportunities. Take the survey by going to fhata.org/study.
Hi, I'm Jim Armendariz, former principal of Ogden Elementary, where I had the honor of hiring and working with Yusha Reddy, your current state senator. Yusha stood out as an award-winning educator who gave her all to every student. She held high expectations for herself and others. She never backed down from the belief that everyone has the potential to succeed. She wasn't just a classroom leader. Yusha served as president of the local teachers union, fighting for educators on regional, state, and national levels. Recognized as one of Kansas's best first-year teachers and later District 383 Teacher of the Year, she consistently modeled going above and beyond. Yusha took that same passion for service to the Manhattan City Commission and now is your District 22 State Senator. She leads with integrity and builds relationships that get results, just like she did when she worked with parents to help their children succeed. No one works harder than Yusha, and no one is more prepared. Vote for Yusha Reddy to keep her fighting for you.
I'm Yusha, ready to serve. I'm asking for your vote on or before November 5th.
Paid for by Ready for Kansas Senate, Katha Hurd, Treasurer.
If you're someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, you are not alone. When you call or text 988, you'll be quickly connected to trained crisis counselors who will listen to your concerns, provide support, and connect you to additional resources if needed. There is hope. Dial or text 988 to connect with the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline or contact Pawnee's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1-800-609-2002. Both are available day or night.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
All the way to the goal in the throwdown.
Man.
He's open for three. Yes! Yes!
A Wildcat.
3 seconds to go. Scoop shot. Yes! At the buzzer.
Be a part of the Wildcat voyage right here.
Now goes back in. There's the lob and the throwdown.
On your home for Kansas State Wildcat basketball. The Cats play here. 1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calling for patchy fog tonight after 10 p.m. Otherwise, mostly clear skies with a low of 37. Those fog patches will continue into the early morning hours tomorrow, but otherwise it'll clear up as the day goes on. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 60. Then mostly cloudy skies tomorrow night with a low of 43.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan!
Ow! Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
Three dishonorable mentions. I will culminate with my official Jabroni of the Week. And let me tell you, this is a tough week to pick just 4 out of this group. There was probably 4 others. I could have done a whole segment, or a whole hour rather, on Jabronis.
And that's without even getting into election talk.
That is absolutely correct. That might be more for next week. First dishonorable mention, I wanted to bring this one up specifically because I know old AJ is a big Chicago Bears fan. So during the first quarter of their game at Arizona, which, by the way, blowout loss for the Bears at Arizona, 29-9. Kayla Williams gets injured. But in that first quarter, it's no score, right? Caleb is scrambling for his life. scrambling. And then at one point, DJ Moore just walks off the field. Middle of the play.
Jeez.
Maybe thought the play was just over, but he walks off the field. Now it's just roasting DJ Moore on social media all day yesterday about walking off the field. It was a 2nd and 6, and Williams is able to keep it alive. No, he just walks off the field. And it ends up, the play ends up in Keenan Allen was called for offensive pass interference. But how did you feel about DJ Moore walking off the field in that instance and basically leaving his team all high and dry?
Well, he did it several times in the game, actually, if you didn't see.
I just saw the one.
Oof.
He is completely checked out, and it shows you the lack of respect for the coach. They've completely stopped playing for him.
You, a week ago, have a defensive back taunting the Washington crowd when he needed to be in position to knock the ball away from the guy who caught the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
You've got DJ Moore pulling that stunt. Brutal.
I mean, it's a lack of discipline. I mean, it's really embarrassing.
What's the Bears' record right now?
They're 4-4, but they should be. I mean, they're not a good. It's a badly coached team, or a poor. I don't even know at this point, but it's not a well-coached team. And Eberflus, I mean, the fact that Saints fired Dennis Allen yesterday, I mean, they should have fired Eberflus at the same time, but the Bears don't do that because of the cheap ownership. It's just bad coaching.
All right, my next honorable mention takes us to the big house. I'm just going to give it to Michigan, just Michigan as a whole.
Makes sense.
Dan Lanning from Oregon, head coach. Boy, the best in college football right now, X's and O's. Having an ace up his sleeve. Knows how to bend the rules a little bit or use the rules in his favor.
Right, yeah.
I think both come into play here.
Yeah.
Because Oregon 9-0, they get it done in the big house. You know, the NCAA recently changed a rule earlier this season after a unique clock management decision. Helped the Ducks beat Ohio State on that last drive for the Buckeyes.
Oh, boy.
Landing, putting 12 on the field, drawing a penalty, and only giving up the 5-yard play, which actually Ohio State should have picked up more than that. It was actually a botch on the coverage by Oregon, but they got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Ohio State had that last play, and they run out the clock. Poor Will Howard once again. But this time around, it's a 2-score game. Michigan gets a stop on 3rd down. Oregon's going to punt. The big house has momentum finally. They feel like their fate's starting to change. Michigan has momentum. They're going to lead this comeback. So what does Dan Lanning do? Now, it's not uncommon to go with a spread formation to punt. But what he did is almost everybody on the line basically spread out as wideouts. And there was only one person of what you would call like the offensive line. The only person was the long snapper.
So a variation on a swinging gate.
Except the punt.
Yeah.
Except it was a punt.
So Dan Lanning was being a troll again.
Well, here's what he did, though. When you line up as a defense for punt return, what can you not do when you line up? You cannot have somebody directly over the long snapper.
Oh, no.
And Michigan had somebody directly over the long snapper on 4th and 4. So that's an illegal formation on Michigan.
Oh.
So they basically set up where you may be a little bit confused, but what is this D lineman supposed to do? He lines up over the center. It's the only person on the line. He could have gone 5 yards over this way. It wasn't like he was going to go make a play because they still had the 3 guys back in that line, like the safety gate or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was just smart coaching by Dan Lanning once again to basically force Michigan into a penalty and get that first down, and they win the game.
The kid is probably thinking, all right, this is going to be a run play. This is going to be a fake. I better line up straight on.
All right, my last honorable mention, I'll be a little quick on this because it's just better if you watch it. But it's Mark Few's son.
Yes.
For Gonzaga. Even though Gonzaga just routed Baylor last night, 101-63. Baylor, we could talk a little bit later on more about that. Baylor played just terribly defensively, and that's an area they got to get better compared to last year. But he's in the game. He plays just a couple of minutes, and he just gets – it's the definition of a posterized dunk.
Yeah.
Just go back and watch it. You'll understand if you watch it. If you've already seen it, you completely know what we're talking about. But that's not our Jabroni of the Week. Our Jabroni of the Week is going to be Washita Baptist football.
Oh,
you reacted like you know what I'm talking to. You aware of this?
No, I'm not. I just know that if they're in the mention, it's not good.
Well, they're a powerhouse in Division II.
Yes.
Football. They're basically Georgia.
Yeah.
They were taking on the UMass of Division II football. That's Southern Nazarene. They're out of Bethany, Oklahoma. Washita is out of where? Oh, I lost my place here. Now I can't find the name of the town they're at. But basically, boy, can you look that up, AJ, real quick? Washita Baptist football, because I forgot to put it in here. Oh, I found it. Arkadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Arkadelphia, okay. Arkansas is where.
Yeah.
But anyway, Southern Nazarene pulled off the upset. They were 0-8. Waukesha Baptist was 8-0, number 3 in the nation.
Ooh.
And it's basically, this is going down as, this is what I'm being told, as one of the biggest upsets in college football history, where they scored a touchdown with 20 seconds left to make the comeback. It was their only touchdown of the game to beat the undefeated number 3 team in the nation with just 20 seconds left.
Wow.
And the UMass of Division II beat Georgia of Division II. So Waukesha Baptist football is my jabroni of the week. Here's the game-winning call, by the way.
2nd and 10 from the 11. Evans out of the shotgun. Rolls to his right, looks back to his left, setting up the screen, got a tight end, and he's going to score! Touchdown, Southern Nazarene! Only 24 seconds left.
It sounded like it should have sounded.
Yes, absolutely.
The perfect accent. The raw voice.
Yep.
Perfect. Southern Baptist, congratulations. Mitch Palm coming up next. Hour 2 of the game after these words.
Hey, Wildcat fans, tickets for all 16 home men's basketball games are on sale now. Get yours today and catch this season's biggest matchups, including a non-conference clash with LSU, the Sunflower Showdown against KU, and a pair of huge Big 12 matchups with Houston and Arizona. Order your tickets online at kstatesports.com/tickets or by calling 1-800-221-2287. We can't wait to see you in the Octagon of Doom.
Thinking about the future isn't always easy, but with the attorneys at Adair Law, planning your estates can be. We understand the importance of protecting what matters most, your family and your legacy. Don't wait for tomorrow. Secure your peace of mind today. Protecting clients with compassion is what they do. Call Adair Law at 785-776-2000 to schedule your consultation today.
Prairie Band Casino is the place to be to play your way. Get in on hot gaming action at our table games and slot machines. Place those bets at the sportsbook. Treat your taste buds to a hand-cut dry-aged steak in the award-winning 3 Fire Steakhouse. Plunge into our indoor pool or relax in the hot tubs. Get pampered at our luxurious Cedar and Sage Spa. Discover more ways to play your way.
Prairie Band Casino and Resort.
Stop. Look no further than Buck Roofing. For nearly 20 years, Buck has specialized in top-quality roofing, installation, and repairs for residential and commercial properties. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate. 785-230-9379.
Looking for uncommon talent? Meet the Grads of Life. They're not the typical candidates you're used to, but they're exactly who your company needs. An ideal fit for entry-level positions, internships, and even mentorships. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn more. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
From lending options to treasury management services, KS State Bank provides innovative solutions to help your business succeed. KS State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, KMAN, Manhattan.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by the Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo all year long and will make great gifts this holiday season.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calling for patchy fog tonight after 10 p.m. Otherwise, mostly clear skies with a low of 37. Those fog patches will continue into the early morning hours tomorrow, but otherwise it'll clear up as the day goes on. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 60. Then mostly cloudy skies tomorrow night with a low of 43.
We're back on the game after work. Mitch Fortner, Troy Coverdale, and AJ Shaw. We're live on YouTube. Search for News Radio KMAN. Hit that subscribe button, and we live stream not only this show, but Within Reason with Mike Madsen. That starts at 9 a.m. every weekday morning.
We are not equipped to put on the morning show, so you don't have to look at my ugly mug twice a day.
Yeah, no camera over there on AJ. So I told him, if you want every Stump the Shaw, we'll put a camera over there. Nope. Done after week 4. Maybe next year.
Right.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
I thought about doing a Stump the Shaw this week, but it's a pretty busy week with K-State Hoops tipping off tonight, the debut tonight, officially, right? It's not an exhibition. It's a real game, Bramlage Coliseum against New Orleans. Before we get to that, one of the wish I had the audio. That'd make this a lot better, but I'm sure a lot of people have already heard this anyway, because I remember hearing it on CBS. Shohei Ohtani, when they won the World Series, had the whole parade and all that, and then they had the celebration at Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
They handed him a mic, and he spoke really good English. You hadn't heard this?
No.
You hadn't seen this?
No.
Oh, now I really wish I had the audio, because they handed him the microphone, and of course he had the accent.
Sure.
But he spoke really good English, and I'm like, that guy never needed a translator. He just needed a guy to do his betting for him.
No.
He was making the parlays for sure. That translator now, he's taking all the heat. He's going to probably go to jail. He's pleading guilty to all these charges. And Shohei this whole time probably spoke really good English.
Pete Rose like a rotisserie chicken right now, spinning in his grave.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Shohei's on his way to the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about that. All right.
Oh, boy.
We got a big game tonight. Go ahead. I'm sorry, AJ, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see your...
I have it. Do you want to hear it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, if you have it, please.
All righty, 3, 2, 1.
I'm so honored to be here and to be part of this team. Congratulations, Los Angeles. Thank you, fans.
Yeah, I mean...
Was that a Go Padres in there? Oh, sorry.
Oh, hush.
That's what it sounded like. Come on.
I mean, that didn't sound like it needed years to come up with that paragraph, but I mean, some work, obviously, yes, he still had a pretty thick accent, but I mean, for a guy that needed a translator everywhere and paying him a ton of money.
Can you imagine if Shohei Ohtani was playing...
Shohei? Is that it?
Shohei, yeah. If he was playing for Tommy Lasorda, he would need the translator then. Let's be perfectly honest.
That's going over my head. Sorry, I can't keep up that well.
I don't get it either.
Pretty much, every other word being 4 letters in the locker room, and when Tommy would come out to the mound, and
Yeah, no, I get your point.
He'd probably need that just for the stories that Tommy tells.
Well, hopefully any sort of discomfort tonight will be at an extreme minimum, as we have a season debut for K-State men's basketball as they host the Privateers of New Orleans. It's time to make a prediction.
Here's Mitch Ball with tonight's prediction.
Cats open up the 121st season all-time of K-State men's basketball. The Cats will go in as a 30.5-point favorite. The series has only been one other meeting, and Cats won 62-47 back on December 4th of 1999. K-State 12-1 all-time against the Southland Conference. Actually, not football, obviously. They don't have football as a varsity sport. But New Orleans previously was a member of the Sun Belt.
Mm-hmm.
But because of Hurricane Katrina, they petitioned to drop to a Division III.
Mm-hmm.
And basically over the past, what's it been, about 13 years?
Yeah, they've progressed back to.
Yes. Back to Division I, and they've been Division I now for, I think, a few years at least.
Yeah, their facilities were wrecked with Hurricane Katrina. I mean, they really were in dire straits.
Cats coming off a 70-56 exhibition win over Fort Hays State, a top 25 Division II Fort Hays State program. Brendan Hazen, 15 points. He shot 14 threes. He was K-State's leading scorer. And one quick note about K-State heading into this game, maybe down a player. That could be Achor.
Achor had a family emergency, and he's still not back yet. He should be back in hopefully the next couple hours and stuff. So I'm not sure whether he'll play tomorrow or not. But everybody's healthy.
And that hopefully does include Max Jones, who was in a boot last week for the exhibition. That what was said by Coach Tang, that was just a precautionary measure, and hopefully he's going to be good to go tonight. And I want to see him play, and because he's going to be a big impact. At least that's the word on the street. New Orleans has a new head coach. Stacy Hollowell used to be an associate AD a couple of years ago at Ole Miss. Previously, last season, he was an assistant at Texas Southern, but before that, Loyola out of Louisiana. He was a head coach there, part of the Wolfpack. He was an assistant first, but then won 166 games as a head coach, including an NAIA national championship 3 seasons ago. So he's a winner. He's won a national championship. Well, the University of New Orleans got an exciting home exhibition game last week over Southern Miss. They lost in overtime 105-102. New Orleans, to give you kind of a team aspect, because they got a very new team from last year, give you kind of an idea of what took place in this exhibition. The first half, New Orleans dominated in the paint. It was tied at half, but New Orleans dominated in the paint. They scored 26 points in the paint in the first half. They were 14-7 on second chance points, 8 offensive rebounds, and again, that's just the first half. New Orleans only turned the ball over 9 times in the game, and they played 45 minutes. Southern Miss had 14 turnovers during that time, and New Orleans was able to score 16 points out of those 14 turnovers. Now,
and yet it still went OT.
Yeah, and shooting the ball, New Orleans was pretty bad from 3, 6 of 31, but they scored 54 points in the paint. They were 59% from 2. They forced more turnovers. They had more assists. Actually, how about this? They forced more turnovers than Southern Miss had assists in that game. Southern Miss, by the way, did get a lot of open looks, and they ended up hitting 8 threes. They probably should have hit more than that. But team perspective-wise, Coach Tang says New Orleans could be a handful tonight.
They press you. They get after you. I think against Southern Miss, it was like 103-102. They got to the free throw line 41 times. They're aggressive to the glass. They want to force turnovers and speed things up. So they do a good job in the half court, guarding elbows and blocks, and so forcing you to, really have to work to get a shot.
Yeah, they're going to be feisty. They're going to be feisty on both ends of the floor. Now, compared to last year's team, we really can't see a whole lot about last year's team. They only had 3 returners from a year ago. 2 of them are going to play. Amarian Henry is out for a while with a knee injury. He won't play tonight. Josh Short had 15 points in the exhibition. Turk Vincent averaged 8.6 rebounds, 2 assists last year. I expect him in the starting lineup as well. Shot 43% from the field. He had 18 points, 2 threes. 3 steals in the exhibition. Of the newcomers, I want to bring up 4 guys. UAB transfer James White, I think, is going to be their best scorer. He had 23 points, took a lot of shots in the exhibition. very good at the free throw line. He got to the free throw line, but he was just 1 of 9 from three-point range. He also had 12 rebounds in the game. They have a couple of JUCO guys. Forward Kerwin Prince, 19 points, 10 rebounds. I mean, he did a very good job at the JUCO ranks of double-doubles. JUCO point guard is R.J. Jacobs. He's a transfer as well. He'll be a starter as well tonight. Very good in the assists. He had 7 in their exhibition. He had 4 steals, so he's also a good defender as well. And then forward M.J. Thomas, 10 points in the exhibition, along with 5 rebounds. He's supposed to come in and do also a good job at three-point shooting. He was 2 of 5 against Southern Miss in their exhibition. But it's not Mitch Palm without... It's a non-conference game.
Mm-hmm.
Famous alumni. When I'm figuring out these projections and what's going to end up being my prediction on the game, I got to know who goes to this kind of school, who supports this university, who shows up to the games and is cheering in the student section, because I'm sure all these people did, right?
Sure.
Number 1 in famous alumni, Frank Ocean, R&B artist. Now, I don't know anything about his music. I've heard the name. I know he's a big deal. By the look of your guys' faces, you don't probably listen to a whole lot of Frank Ocean either. So should I just move on?
I know it. I know the name.
Okay.
And a little.
I couldn't tell you. And again, I know he sells a lot of records, but I don't know. I don't think I know any of his songs. All right, we'll move on.
I don't know much about him either. I just was a little surprised when you said he went to the University of New Orleans.
Well, here's a second famous alumni. This for you, AJ. I'll see if you know this name. Randy Bush. Baseball.
I think is he a Padre?
No.
I don't know who.
He was with the Twins for a long time.
Oh, who knows?
And now he's in the front office of the Chicago Cubs.
Oh.
So I was wondering if you had an opinion on this guy, because
I remember who you're talking about.
He played 12 seasons for the Twins. He was an outfielder. He was a DH, career batting average of 250, but he works in the front office of the Cubs. So I don't know if you had an opinion of this guy.
He's been with the Cubs a very long time. He was there when Jim Hendry was the GM. He was there when Theo Epstein was there. Yeah, people don't even know who I'm talking about, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I do know who Randy Bush is now that you mention him.
Well, I'm just wondering if you like him. Like, is he of note? Like,
not really.
Does he do anything?
Not really. I've never had much of an opinion on him.
Well, my final famous alumni for the University of New Orleans, UNO, Ellen DeGeneres.
Really? I did not know that.
Ellen DeGeneres went to New Orleans. So when you think of this basketball team that K-State's playing against, you could basically call them the Fighting Ellens. Because I'm sure not a lot of people know what a privateer is.
Yeah, right.
So let's just go with the Fighting Ellens. Yeah. I think a privateer is a ship. Like an old warship. Not like a pirate ship, but like... I can't give you a good example. Like a movie or so. I can't think of a good movie, but... Well, Pirates of the Caribbean, like not Jack Sparrow's ship, like what he was fighting against, like a ship like that, I guess is a privateer, like with cannons and stuff, and like 9 sails.
Privateer is a private person or vessel which engages in maritime warfare under a commission of war.
Yeah, so I think I nailed it.
You're close.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
the warships.
It's not the Black Pearl.
But it is, but also a person.
Oh.
So
a privateer. So is there a difference between a privateer and a pirate?
Yeah.
Is that what we're getting
because
at?
It's under a commission of war.
Okay. So this
Piracy
privateer
is just straight theft.
Yeah, it's not out there committing crime, just trying to go, take some bodies.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right, so keys to the game. You want a blowout because K-State did not have enough blowouts. Too many close calls in the non-conference slate last year. Wichita State, North Alabama, Chicago State, Bellarmine, Oral Roberts. Very close. All wins. A lot of overtime games in there as well. This is big for the net. I mean, Coach Tang talked about this earlier this week that these non-conference games, you want to make a statement. Mm-hmm. Because if you have these close games or you... God forbid, lose one of these games,
right?
You're recovering the whole year from stuff like that. It could be a really big hit to the metrics. K-State's got to be on their toes defensively. Again, I don't want to make too many comparisons to last year, but that was a really feisty team last year. They like to move fast. They're going to be in your face defensively. They're going to press you. So pressing is on offense, but defense, you got to be ready for their transition game. And you can't be lollygagging on defense. K-State kind of took a break on defense after a while. It was tough at first. On ball, off ball, they got to be on their toes on both. On ball and off ball in this game. And then, point guard discipline. You're going to see Doug McDaniel play a lot of minutes. He had a rough game. How much does David Castillo play? I'm not sure, but he had a rough game. It was really C.J. Jones that did most of the work for K-State. I shouldn't say most of the work. He did most of the work scoring, but you just got to have a clean game. You got to limit the sloppiness, and I think it starts with the point guards. And I want to see a lot of discipline tonight. I want to see everybody score the basketball, dish the rock, get it to your playmakers. Ball movement's a big key. You make some ball movement, you're going to get some open shots against a team like New Orleans. I don't think New Orleans is a good team. They have some pieces. But K-State, according to Ken Palm, has a 99% chance of winning it, 87-60. I think this could be a little bit higher scoring than that. But I'm going to keep it at 99%. My score prediction, K-State wins it 91-65. 91-65 over New Orleans in the Octagon of Doom.
I just want you to call him Nollins once.
Foul on Nollins?
Yeah. See if we can get by with it.
So, in a lot of teams' pronunciation guide or game notes.
Yes.
There's a pronunciation guide typically.
Yeah.
But they'll also, in the notes, like in the first couple of pages, they'll have a little box. And it says,
yes,
don't call us Nollins, don't call us New Orleans, it's New Orleans.
Okay.
Or go either that or UNO. We don't want to be called by anything else. A lot of notes have those. But I didn't find anything of that in their notes.
Okay.
So it could be fair game.
You could slip that one in.
All right, we got to take a break. And when we come back, we have more of the game. Baylor had a rough night. Is there a new redshirt trend becoming a thing in college basketball? We'll talk about that coming up next. You're listening to The Game.
You're in the game on News Radio KMAN.
I never dreamed I'd reach age 100. I really didn't.
C. Clyde Jones is a legend around Manhattan. The first dean of K-State's College of Business is now 101 years old. Clyde's recipe for longevity includes his customized daily home care provided by passionate, trained professionals from Interim Healthcare.
What I treasure the most about Interim is the personal relationships I've developed with the personnel who come to take care of me. Just a wonderful group of people.
At Interim Healthcare, our mission is to improve people's lives.
Well, in my case, I call it help me sustain the quality of life, because I've led a good life. No room for improvement, but the quality of Interim's help is just so good. Home health, and it's worth every penny. I just love the women who come.
We care, we're there. Interim Healthcare.
Topeka, Manhattan, Lawrence.
Fall has arrived at Blueville Nursery. Add a pop of seasonal color to your porch with mums, annuals, and pumpkins. Cooler temperatures make fall a perfect time to plant, and we have a great selection of trees, shrubs, and perennials. September through October is the perfect time to seed cool season lawns. Don't forget to add Fertilome New Lawn Starter to get an extra boost. Plant fall bulbs in October to get an early pop of color next spring. Louisville Garden Store is open Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5. Come give us a visit at Blueville Nursery, where you'll always find the friendly smile and expert advice. Located at the corner of Scenic Drive in Anderson and Manhattan.
No matter if your flight is departing or arriving, travel is more convenient when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago. Plus, by booking your next flight through Manhattan Regional Airport, you'll spend less time driving, saving you both gas and time. Why spend hours on the road when you can spend more time at your destination? Or more importantly, getting home quicker to the ones you love. Get back to the convenience of flying local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org. for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
From opening night to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. Hi, this is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football, plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. The K-State men's basketball team takes its turn at opening the season tonight, hosting New Orleans. Jerome Tang's team finished 14-3 at home a season ago, but missed the NCAA tournament. They ultimately lost in the opening round of the NIT to Iowa. Tip-off tonight is just after 7, with coverage beginning at 6 here on News Radio KMAN and 101.5 K-Rock. The Kansas City Chiefs needed overtime to set a new franchise record with their 14th consecutive victory, downing Tampa Bay 30-24. Pat Mahomes capped a big day with 291 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on a gimpy ankle by going 5 for 5 on the only drive of overtime. DeAndre Hopkins had 8 catches for 86 yards and 2 scores, and Kareem Hunt finished off the night with a touchdown in overtime and 106 yards rushing.
He's got a lot of trust in him, and you've seen DeAndre make those catches over his career. Get 2 great players thrown to each other, sometimes great things happen. And so it's not the way we drew it up, but it was a good finish to it.
The teams tied late in the game, but Bucs coach Todd Bowles admitted to giving thought to going for 2 before kicking the extra point. KC has a quick turnaround as they host the Broncos this Sunday at noon. We'll have it for you right here on News Radio KMAN. Now back to the game.
Back on the game, Mitch, Troy, and AJ. One quick thing about college football, and this needs to be mentioned. Really, I don't think there's any college basketball on tonight on like ESPN, ESPN2. I think it's all like ESPN Plus games. Not like there's any like major games tonight anyway. Presidential election, obviously that's going to be,
right.
You know, a lot of people tuning in for that.
Knowing where the eyeballs were going to be tonight, yes.
But finally, and I think it's a travesty. We have to wait until week 11. It seems like every year to finally get Tuesday night action. And if you can't watch tonight, there's Wednesday night action. I think they were loading us up for a lot of this year. If it's Tuesday, Wednesdays, it's like
Sunbelt.
Is Sunbelt or Conference USA? Like, take a hike.
Right. Yeah, Conference USA. Yeah.
Tuesdays are meant for action. Wednesdays are meant for action. Gimme my action. Bowling Green, Central Michigan. How you doing? That's tonight. Miami of Ohio at Ball State at 7. Here we go. If you think that's great, wait till tomorrow night. 5-3 Ohio at 0-8 Kent State. Buckle up.
Oh man.
Western Michigan hosts Northern Illinois. That should be a pretty good game. So finally it's back, and then you can get back to your Sunbelt on Thursday.
Just in time for all of the cold temperatures and, upper Midwest, yes.
A couple of thoughts on the opening slate of Big 12 games last night. Iowa State beats Mississippi Valley State 83-44. No real takeaways there. Taven Lipsey still a dude. Houston takes care of Jackson State. Kansas beating Howard 87-57 in Allen Fieldhouse last night. I knew when Zeke Mayo became a Jayhawk, that was going to be a real problem, and he was really good out of the gate. I mean, he comes off the bench for KU last night and finishes with 19 points, 4 rebounds. He goes 5 of 8 from 3. You may remember him as a Jackrabbit last year, South Dakota State. I mean, a real dude. And he was one of 3 Jayhawks in double figures last night, so the scoring was really spread out. The only starter in double figures was Hunter Dickinson with 16 points.
Back from the foot injury that kept him out of the preseason.
Yes. That was Hunter Dickinson? I must have missed that. I thought that was somebody else.
So did not play against Arkansas, did not play in the exhibition against Washburn.
UCF comes back and upsets number 13 Texas A&M and in their gym. Darius Johnson for UCF is really good. 24 points last night, 5 out of 11 from 3. He had 5 assists in the game as well. That's a really strong player for UCF. That could be a challenge this year. And then the game of the night was Baylor at Gonzaga. It was a big tip-off event in Spokane. Oh, boy. Baylor, they do like to build in these really tough non-conference games in their non-conference. They've been doing that for a while now, and it typically doesn't go too well.
Right.
Remember a blowout losing to Michigan State a couple of years ago? Gonzaga just hands one to them. 101-63 final score. Bulldogs win it. That was a bad matchup for Baylor. And Baylor couldn't hardly do anything right. And Baylor's a good team. They should be a really good team. They're preseason ranked 8th in the nation. Boy, are they not there yet. This could be a game that Baylor, I mean, again, going back to the metrics that I brought up with K-State tonight, you just blow out New Orleans. Like, this could be a game that Baylor has to take some time to recover from. A couple of notes about this game. First of all, Baylor has a ton of newcomers. Gonzaga does not. And we now know how wealthy that is to have returning experience on a basketball team these days. I mean, that's a clear sign. And Gonzaga has that. Baylor does not. So we saw a lot of, if you stayed up late for that game, which it tipped off at 10:30, you witnessed a lot of growing pains for Baylor last night. I thought Norchad Omier was really good. He's a transfer from Miami at 15 points, 9 rebounds. I thought he was pretty good. There's a freshman for Baylor named Rob Wright. He had 12 points, 6 assists. I thought he was really good. But, man, Baylor's defense was god-awful. They were switching everything, and Baylor did not have the size to match up and do those kind of things. So they were just getting burned in the paint all night. And Baylor was not hitting shots either. They were 3 of 21 from 3, which is, I mean, just obviously incredibly ugly, but you don't expect that from the number 8 team in the nation preseason. And Baylor just sucked on the glass. I saw a stat, and I don't remember the exact percentage, so I'm going to give you this. I'm just going to say it this way, that Gonzaga almost grabbed 50% of their missed shots last night. That's how bad it was for Baylor last night.
Oof.
So I guess you're happy it was the first game of the year? I don't know. To me, there weren't a whole lot of moral victories for Scott Drew last night.
Scott's going to bring back out the zone defense?
I don't know. It got so bad that I just kind of stopped watching. And I just caught up with some of the numbers afterwards. But yeah, it was a rough night. And Norchad Omier finished. He was the leading scorer with 15 points last night. They had 3 players in double figures. Baylor shoots 37% from the field, and boy, Gonzaga was just. They did a good job rebounding last night. They were hitting their shots as well. They finished 13 of 31 from 3, and that's 42%. So Baylor didn't have a chance last night. Okay, one other thing I wanted to bring up real quick, and this started really kind of boggled my mind yesterday when I heard from Jeff Mitty. Briley Glenn did not suit up for K-State yesterday. She played in the exhibition, did not suit up. And see if I can find the clip here real quick. Why she did not play, it's because she plans to redshirt.
Briley came to me about 3 weeks ago and said, there were some things that she wanted to work on, and so we kind of put it on the back burner then, but now you have to kind of make a decision. The plan right now is to redshirt her. She also knows that, we don't have, I don't want to say a thin bench right now, but if circumstances change, she's got to still be ready, but that'll be her choice. It's not my choice.
Very surprising because Briley has been a starter since she was a freshman. She's been a pretty big deal since she was a freshman. Her numbers haven't been keeping up with her sister. So basically what we hear there, without a whole lot of detail, is that, yeah, like what Coach said, just wants to work on her game and come back next year. But if they need her to play, she's going to have to play and just be ready to go. It's just surprising. I wanted to ask you, like, I don't recall a time where a player was going to be a senior and is just going to sit out her true senior year to redshirt and come back next year to hopefully be better and worked on those things that she feels like she's struggling with. Because I'm going to give you another example after you answer, because now Illinois is dealing with this for the second year in a row.
The only time that I really have heard of it coming into play had more to do with if a team was dealing with a penalty, that they knew that they weren't going to be, for example, going to a conference tournament or have a shot at the NCAA at the end of the year, and that player may say, hey, listen, I'm gonna sit on the sideline this year knowing full well that chance comes next year. That changes probably in the day of NIL now anyway, and the unlimited transfer rules, but at the time, it made perfect sense. You know you're not going to be playing past the end of the regular season, so why not put your attention on playing the next year?
So I guess, there are pros and cons to this. The cons are you don't have a particular player that's going to be a huge part of your depth, maybe not starting this year, and I kind of see where Briley's coming from, because the pros are, I guess, that, well, that's one player he's not going to have to replace next year.
Right.
And I guess you hope she's better next year. She's worked on those things, because her numbers they weren't great last year. They did not keep up with her sister, Jalen, and she's been a starter all this time. Like, she probably doesn't see her career going in the right direction, wants to correct that, and maybe feels like she needs to take a year off. So I guess the pro there is she's not transferring, because I think a lot of people in that situation would be looking to transfer.
The other thing, it makes you wonder too, off the court, what is her attention level in terms of, is there something class-wise, school-wise that also has her attention that she's putting that focus on this year more so than wanting to have to balance it with basketball for the year? Now,
I bring up the word trend, and this is really the only other story we have on this. That's why I'm just kind of bringing it up. Like, is this going to be a thing we see happen more often? For Brad Underwood, he has a junior. His name is Ty Rogers, who is, I guess, going to be a starter this year, averaged about 7 points a game a year ago. And right before they played last night, about an hour, he tells Brad Underwood that he's going to redshirt.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, I think Briley gave Coach a decent heads up that she's going to sit out.
Right, yeah.
You telling your coach an hour before you're about to play and you're supposed to be in the lineup is kind of a blank move. You know what I'm saying? But here's the deal. There's no sign of him transferring, but last year there was a player that sat out right before the season started, ended up transferring to West Virginia.
Okay.
So, I guess, and maybe Coach Mitty is also kind of juggling the, what could possibly be the outcome. Does Briley actually stick around? Does she, what happens? Because it's kind of up in the air, but right now you have a player on your roster that you were fully planning to play and quite a bit. Now all of a sudden they've decided not going to play this year. I've elected to sit out, work on my game, but are they going to be here next year?
Right.
So now we have a new wrinkle, I guess, in recruiting and, player retention and, depth and, everything. Now, if this is going to become more of a thing, it's just, I don't think I've really ever heard of it before, especially with upperclassmen.
It really does smack, at least on the Illinois story, of being an NIL-related thing.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because of Briley, yes, it's not pay for play,
right.
But she's not playing, so is she going to be getting any NIL offers now,
right,
or any opportunities to be bringing in that cash? So could take a hit there as well. So yeah, it could be a major gamble.
Sure,
for these student athletes.
All the way around, it can be a major gamble.
So I thought it was really interesting. I can see the pros and cons, but this is supposed to be the year for K-State women's basketball. But at the same time, though, Briley is seeing Zy Walker, who's is a redshirt sophomore. Now she's in the lineup and she's playing really well. She didn't have her strong numbers last year like she had previously in her career in her freshman and sophomore year. So maybe she truly feels that just not playing the caliber of basketball that she should be as a senior.
Right.
So I just hope she doesn't transfer. That's my worry.
Sure.
But it could work out to be a pretty big thing for K-State moving forward if she does stick around for that last year next year.
Maybe a minus in terms of depth this year, but a plus in depth next year.
All right. I got to get to Bramlage. These guys are going to take over the rest of the way. More of the game coming up next. I'll see you in Bramlage. Go Cats.
Your home for K-State sports.
Wildcat fans, I know I'm wearing the Heat jersey right now, but I bleed purple. Well, not really, it's red, but you kind of, figure of speech, you know what I mean? Welcome to Madness in Manhattan.
This is The Game on News Radio, KMAN.
This is Senator Lana Olien, a traditional Republican who served 16 years as your Kansas Senator.
And this is Senator Tom Hawk, a moderate Democrat who served 10 years in the Kansas Senate as your senator.
We both support Yusha Reddy to continue as your senator.
Lana, why do you believe Yusha is the right choice for Riley County?
Yusha has consistently delivered for our community. She's secured vital resources and advocated for local issues. Tom, what concerns you about this election?
That dark secret money that is pouring in from the Kansas Senate leadership bothers me. It's pushing extreme agendas that don't really reflect our values here.
That's right. Riley County has always chosen leaders who prioritize people over party politics, and Yusha embodies that tradition.
Well, Senator Reddy is really accessible, and she listens.
As your former senators, we are both voting for Senator Yusha Reddy.
I'm Yusha, ready to serve. I'm asking for your vote on or before November 5th.
Paid for by Ready for Kansas Senate, Katha Hurt, Treasurer.
Larry, Steve, and Rudy, the Gatlin brothers, have dazzled audiences for more than 69 years, accruing a lifetime of noteworthy achievements in their storybook career, including a Grammy for Best Country Song. The Gatlin brothers have entertained audiences on stages all over the world, from the Grand Ole Opry to Carnegie Hall. Don't miss the Gatlin Brothers Country and Christmas Show at Kansas State University's McCain Auditorium, Friday, December 6th. Buy tickets online, by phone, or at the box office. Sponsored by Strecker Nelson West Gallery and Custom Frames.
This is Tori Berard, and I'm the bank manager at ESB Financial. We're a local community bank, and our vision is to help our clients achieve their dreams. So what's your dream? Is it to own a home in the Manhattan community? Do you want to open your own business? Or are you working on building your savings account for a dream vacation? Whatever it may be, we want to help. Come see us at ESB Financial and find out how our unbeatable products and customer service can help you achieve your dream. Member FDIC.
Eagle Housing Lender.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn. But not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom.
Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
Up to 50% of American families are paying their adult children's bills to an average of $1,482 a month. Wow. I've never seen it like this. 25% of millennials, their parents are paying their housing, house payment, their rent, or they're living in their basement. You pay your kids' bills. Psychologists call that enabling. As a matter of fact, enabling is quite the opposite of loving.
Go from paycheck to purpose with The Ramsey Show. Weekdays 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast calling for patchy fog tonight after 10 p.m. Otherwise, mostly clear skies with a low of 37. Those fog patches will continue into the early morning hours tomorrow, but otherwise it'll clear up as the day goes on. Mostly sunny skies with a high of 60. Then mostly cloudy skies tomorrow night with a low of 43.
Couple of college football notes as we move towards the finish of the game this afternoon. Troy and AJ with you. Did you know Dana Holgorsen was working as a consultant for TCU?
I did not know that.
Well, he isn't anymore. No. Dana didn't get removed from the TCU offices forcibly or anything like that. No. He signed on with Matt Rule up at Nebraska to now serve as their consultant.
Okay.
As in, he was a consultant at TCU and now is going to be a consultant at Nebraska. There's no rule barring you from being a consultant at more than one place in a year.
Gotcha. I was assuming maybe it's like a temporary role at TC or something like that.
Well, apparently, nobody is getting into it other than the fact that Holgorsen was pursued by Rule in Nebraska for a spot on its offensive staff last season.
Yes.
They only have 3 games left on their schedule, trying to make a bowl game, but yeah, they've really hit the skids of late.
For sure.
The 53-year-old, of course, former head coach at Houston and at West Virginia. $15 million buyout last year at Houston. That went so very well. He is one of the most respected offensive coaches in college football. I'm sorry, no. I mean, okay, he's got an okay offensive mind, sure. Respect with that hair?
It's a good point right there. You mentioned the buyout. I mean, Houston's probably all right with Willie Fritz right now, especially after the win on Saturday.
And then there's someone getting caught up in election mayhem that you would not have expected. For all of the talk about any number of, little things going on where people go to the polls and things haven't been right, what happens when it's Dabo Swinney that gets caught up in it?
Oh, boy. What did he do this time?
He did nothing.
What happened?
Other than cast his vote.
Okay.
At the end of it, he cast his vote. The statewide voting system locked him out.
Oh, okay.
You know why?
Why?
William Swinney had voted last week.
Oh, okay.
Dabo's real name is William Swinney.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? It was his son.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his son, Will, had cast his vote. Well, the system caught it, and so he had a provisional ballot, and he filled it out, and he did the usual. His comment, they done voted me out of state. We're 6-2, 5-1 in conference, man. They done shipped me off.
That's what happens when you ignore the transfer portal.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, man.
It's always funny when like a senator will show up to vote and they're like, "Yeah, you're not on our list." Are you kidding me? I'm a senator from the state.
Yeah. Because still at the end of the day, all of that tends to not be the most, well, let's put it this way. You're working to keep ballots private And so in the process, that means that there are a lot of disconnections along the way. That's all it is. But people sure love to get suspicious about the disconnections. One other note of just the nonsense. Do you see Joel Embiid's little problem?
I did. He doesn't want to play back-to-backs or 3 in a row or something like that, and now he's been suspended.
That is the part of it. But it has nothing to do with him not playing the back-to-backs.
What does this have to do?
He shoved a reporter.
Oh, of course he did. Boy, he's turned into such an unlikable player.
Turned into?
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he went that place. So
that's true.
That's
true.
So Embiid's going to be suspended 3 games without pay because he shoved a columnist who has been highly critical of him.
Just to be clear, he didn't do what Dennis Rodman did a number of years ago, correct?
Correct.
Good. At least he didn't do that.
He did not, but it's still not kosher to shove a columnist who's been critical of you.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a great point made yesterday elsewhere in talking about this situation specifically. Oh, it was Dan Patrick talking about, when he was headed for New York, he was told, show up. Meaning, if you're going to be covering the team and you're going to be critical of them in the papers, however, show up.
Yes.
So that way that player, that coach can at least see you're there and discuss it with you.
Mm-hmm.
Embiid stepped over the line.
Yeah.
In this case, as Marcus Hayes, who writes for the Philadelphia Inquirer. It came in reaction to Embiid taking issue with a recent column by Hayes that mentioned Embiid's son and late brother while questioning Embiid's professionalism and effort to stay in shape. After shouting during an exchange of words, Embiid shoved him. He has yet to play this season because of quote-unquote ongoing issues with his left knee. So why did the Sixers waste their money signing him in the offseason to the contract they signed him to?
Because they're a desperate franchise.
Good grief.
I mean, they gave Paul George a bunch of money, and we know how much of a prima donna Paul George can be.
Well, and the two of them both have not yet seen the floor together because of this.
Yeah.
And Paul George himself is not playing in back-to-backs.
Yeah.
Already for the Sixers.
People wonder why the NBA is not the same.
Yeah, the process really worked.
Oh, boy.
Oh, anyway. All right, we'll wrap it up in a moment on The Game.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's education space for learning or healthcare space for healing, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
Discover a world where art meets light using cutting-edge exhibitions that explore visual art, the creative process, and digital technology. The Museum of Art and Light has arrived in Manhattan and is the place where people from all walks of life will be totally engaged in an electrifying, breathtaking experience. The Museum of Art and Light is the first contemporary art museum to blend immersive, digital, and physical art all under one roof. Bring your friends and family to experience the beauty of the art like never before. For more information, you can find them online at artlightmuseum.org.
Hi, I'm Jeremy from Pawnee Mental Health. Suicide isn't easy to talk about, but it's a conversation that can save lives. If you or someone you care about is struggling, please reach out. Call or text 988 to connect with the National Suicide Crisis Line or contact Pawnee's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1-800-609-2002. You don't have to face this alone. Let's talk, because reaching out can save a life.
A new roof, not something you think about every day. Good thing Buck does. Call Buck Roofing for your free, no-obligation estimate today and live comfortably under your new roof. 785-230-9379. Buck Roofing, serving Kansas for almost 20 years.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
Coming up on the post-election edition of K-Man's Morning News Wednesday morning. A full rundown of the election results locally, plus CBS News with the latest on the national scene at the top and bottom of every hour. Your local sports headlines at 15 and 45, the business news, and more as part of K-Man's Morning News tomorrow morning.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. The K-State men's basketball team takes its turn at opening the season tonight, hosting New Orleans. Jerome Tang's team finished 14-3 in the Octagon of Doom last season, but missed the NCAA tournament before obviously bowing out in the first round of the NIT to Iowa. Tip-off tonight is just after 7. We get you started with pregame coverage precisely 4 minutes from now here on News Radio KMAN and 101.5 K-Rock. The Kansas City Chiefs needed overtime to set a new franchise record with a 14th straight win, downing Tampa Bay 30-24 last evening. Pat Mahomes had a big day with 291 yards passing and 3 touchdowns on a gimpy ankle, also going 5 for 5 on the only drive of overtime, which Kareem Hunt capped off. He had 106 yards on the ground. DeAndre Hopkins had a big game, 8 catches for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns in his second game working with Mahomes.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of trust in him. And you've seen DeAndre make those catches over his career. You get 2 great players thrown to each other. Sometimes great things happen. And so it's not the way we drew it up, but it was a good finish to it.
KC has a quick turnaround as they'll host the Broncos Sunday at noon. We'll have it for you here on News Radio KMAN. We wrap up the game next. Alrighty, AJ and Troy with you here, just a few minutes out from game day. I want to know who you're going to have your eye on tonight in this game from the minimal time you'll be probably paying attention to it, I guess.
Hi, welcome to my life. I am curious to see if David Castillo sees more action tonight.
Yeah, me too.
I'm interested to see what Doug McDaniel does tonight as well. And especially given the fact that he's still essentially playing himself back into form, if you will. Mm-hmm. But I am curious just for the newness factor and the talent level of what we'll see from David Castillo tonight.
Max Jones for me. See how he's doing with the foot. And Achora too. I don't know. I'm really intrigued by him as well. You know, you mentioned the newness of the team. I'm very interested to see how the chemistry looks. It looked all right in the exhibition game against Fort Hays State, but hopefully it becomes a real deal in the game tonight.
Yeah, welcome to game 1 of what is essentially a new season.
Do you want to tell folks kind of what the plan is for this evening really quickly?
Yeah, coming up in the second half specifically, we'll hit you with an update or two early on, probably right after the first batch of numbers drop. We'll get to you coming out of a commercial break back into the game with a little bit of an update. Our best update chances, though, come in the second half and then in postgame. Before we go wall to wall following the game with coverage of the election results, both for what's going on locally as well as the national scene. We'll have information from CBS along with what we are doing locally, as you can also find results being tracked online at both newsradiokman.com and themercury.com. Polls closing in now 1 hour and 40 seconds. That's your cue. So we'll have that coverage for you until about 11 o'clock tonight, of course, and get right back at it tomorrow morning. My alarm goes off way too early. Back in a little bit with updates for you. K-State basketball up next. For AJ, for Mitch, I'm Troy. Go Cats.
KS State Bank wants to be your bank. Find the solutions you've been looking for at ksstate.bank.